typically if you've dated a woman for more than 3 months, she's going to eventually come to you and ask, what are we? What's the relationship? And that's your signal that she's ready to be in a relationship. But what happens when it's been 5 months and she has yet to bring up that phrase or ask those kind of questions? Does this mean that your relationship's in jeopardy? Are you even in a relationship? And what can you do to guarantee that she feels as though you guys are in an actual relationship versus just hanging out and dating? Well, we have a question from a guy that's in that very same situation, and we're going to get into it. Hi, I'm Harry Wilmington. Welcome to Harry Dating Combos. So let's get into this guy's question. He says, question, have you ever asked out a girl instead of waiting for her to initiate the conversation? I've been seeing this exact same girl for almost 5 months, and she has not initiated the conversation. She told me the other day that she likes me. She's been introducing me to her friends. She likes me sleeping over her place, her idea. And she told me she misses seeing me twice a week because he's been busy. Despite all this, she's never initiated the whole "who are we" convo. I think she expects me to initiate the convo. I almost did it the other day, but didn't want to ruin anything by getting too hasty. Please let me know your thoughts and opinions. So I appreciate you guys that follow my stuff and are following it to the letter of the law. I always tell you guys that the stuff I give you guys is designed to work, and it'll work in 97% of the cases, but you always have to also give leeway to is your situation one where there could be room to possibly have different things going on? And I'm not saying that's necessarily this situation, but there are some women out there that when you date them, they may not necessarily bring up the whole "what are we" convo. Most women will. Most of my dating life, I have found that if I've dated them long enough, they get to a point by that 3rd month where they're like, hey, are we in a relationship or not? They start questioning it, right? There's been a small percentage of women that never brought up the conversation. I'm married now, and the person I married, we never had that convo. But to be fair, we had a history. We knew each other in college. We reconnected later in life, and we just kept going out with each other. It was kind of pretty obvious at that point that both of us didn't want other people. And so I'm married to somebody who I never had that convo with until I said, hey, do you want to get married? And even then, I knew based on the hints she was throwing that what she wanted was a long-term relationship. And so sometimes with some women, you have to look at the totality of the situation. You have to look at context clues. You have to really, really study other conversations you may have had that maybe she didn't outright say, so what are we? But maybe she said other stuff that indicated there's a very, very strong like there, and thus a very strong possibility that she wants a relationship. So let's look at this girl. He said that she told him the other day that she likes him. Now, 5 months in, women praising you and saying, I really like you. I'm having such a great time with you. I just enjoy your company so much. The fact that they're saying that repeatedly usually is an indicator that they're really having strong feelings for you. Now, unless this woman is just completely relationship adverse or is like, I had stuff in the past and so I just want to keep hanging out, whatever, then there's a strong chance that she's probably already viewing this as a relationship. And again, some women will just, through osmosis, just assume we've been hanging out for 3 months. Of course we're in a relationship. Why does it need to be a conversation? That does not mean that you don't get clarity on that, mind you. It just means that she could already be thinking, I spend most of my time with you. I'm thinking about you all the time. You as the guy should get that this means that we're in a relationship. All that said, though, if you are a guy that needs clarity on that, there are ways you can go about getting it. Because I became eventually a guy who was just kind of if we're hanging out all the time and she's not bringing it up, I'm just going to assume things until she brings it up. And then if I'm wrong about that, then I'll just be like, okay, well, it's been 6 months and you finally said I'm not your boyfriend. So, okay, it is what it is. I still had a good 6 months. I don't take having to have titles at that point personally. Like I said, I'm a husband now, so clearly I have to have a title. But during my dating phase, it was kind of I got to a point where if I have a title, great. But if I don't have the title, the worst thing that means is that I'm still a free agent and I can still see other people. And if she gets mad about it, then either A, she's just mad about it and I just start dating the other person, or also it gives away their cards. So them being mad at me just makes them reveal that they actually wanted me as the boyfriend the entire time, at which point we would have a conversation and then boom, we'd be in a relationship, right? So, but with that said, here's what you can do. Very, very, very simple. I'm not getting that you've gotten to the point now where you've potentially met more important people in her life. If you have, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know the totality of that. But assuming you haven't met her family, like it's like mother, father, grandmother, aunts, uncles, cousins, and stuff like that, or anybody that she deems like really, really like a strong influencing presence in her life, there's going to be a point where that happens, or there's going to be a point where maybe you want to introduce her to some of people like that, your father, your mother, etc., whatever, right? And so as that's coming up, you can simply ask, hey, so when you meet these people, or hey, when I meet your people, either how am I going to introduce you, or how are you going to introduce me? That's a very simple question to ask, and it's one that, you know, if you're meeting her mother and father, her being like, hey, so-and-so, so this is so-and-so, like that's going to be a really weird thing for her to do, at which point she'll probably say, hey, so can I introduce you as like my boyfriend or whatever. But in lieu of that, if you start having conversations about meeting these important people, you can simply say, so when we introduce these people to each other, like, how are we going to introduce each other? And then at that point, she'll probably say something like, what do you mean? Like, oh, I mean, we've been going out for a while, so we're just going to say like, hey, we're so-and-so, or are we going to like say we're more important than that? What are we doing? And then she can say, oh, I just assumed you were my boyfriend, so I was just going to say my boyfriend, duh. Or she could be like, oh, would you want to like me to introduce you as my boyfriend? Like, that's a way to still get her to be the one to say what's going to happen. Because she could very well say, oh, I'll just introduce you as so-and-so. And you're like, and you just go with, okay, that's totally cool. But like, that's how you can get that conversation to kind of happen. But I would say, honestly, again, as a person that is now married to somebody who I never had that convo with, I would say not every girl's going to have that convo, but that doesn't necessarily mean she doesn't view you as being the boyfriend. I get why most men want to have that conversation because, hey, let's face it, as guys, we get in a lot of situations where we think that one thing's happening with the girl, and we find out later that, oh, she didn't view us that way at all. I would say there's more than enough context clues here that indicate that she's probably already viewing you as that. But if you need clarity on that, I would say the thing I just mentioned to you is probably the easiest way to get that to happen. So let me know how that goes, and if you're able to do that. And if not, then you know, you have a decision to make about like, if you really, really need clarity at some point, I guess you could bring up the convo. I just found in my history, I had PTSD. I'll be honest. Like I've had times in my past where I thought things were going great. I asked about a relationship and then it's like, oh, I wasn't there yet. And then they're gone, right? I would say 5 months in, you err better at that possibly leaning towards a yes from her. But again, I'm still like, I just wasn't that guy that needed to have titles towards the end of my dating life, you know? So I would say if you need to have that title, then you could try to cajole some kind of conversation. But if she's showing up regularly and doing things that she's supposed to do, I don't necessarily see it as a necessary thing. Like if you just need that for your own personal, you know, whatever, then you can do that. But, you know, I wouldn't say it's a pushy issue. Like you're approaching 5 months, dude, at this point, I would assume that you're already there. But do you want the clarity? Seek it out the best way you can. It's just not something I would personally do. But again, just because I give you guys advice on here doesn't mean that you have to follow every single thing that I would do, you know? So hopefully some of what I've said here helps you out. For the rest of you guys, if you need more of my help, you can go to HarryWilmington.com and click on the coaching tab and sign up for one-on-one coaching. I also have the Get Girls Academy there, which is the end-all be-all for my various video programs, audio programs, and ebooks. You can also go there to get the ebook separately, but all that stuff is at the website, HarryWilmington.com. Thanks for watching this video. Like, subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.